Shotguns. Perhaps the most popular type of firearm to ever be used. They're simple to operate, useful for a number of different purposes, and devastating in the right circumstances. Unlike many firearms, shotguns are accessible to the majority of people. And of all the shotguns to date, one is especially ubiquitous. Of course, I'm talking about the Remington 870. Shotguns have a long, storied history. Derived from the muzzle-loading blunderbuss, shotguns are firearms that shoot a unique cartridge called a shell. Traditionally, these shells fire out a number of tiny metal projectiles called shot. But in modern times, a number of different projectiles are available. It's unclear where the term shotgun originates from, but they've seen heavy use since their inception in the late 1700s. From cavalry troops to hunters, shotguns were a very popular choice for a couple hundred years. Having the ability to fire a cluster of projectiles was very effective at close distances. However, these early shotguns had two distinct drawbacks: ammo capacity and rate of fire. The majority held very few shells, and weren't able to fire off rounds as quickly compared to other firearms of that time. A few types of shotguns were designed to alleviate these two problems, and while some of these did see use, the most enduring of these was undoubtedly the pump-action shotgun. First designed by two American firearm designers, Sylvester Roper and Christopher Spencer, the pump-action design was meant to allow a shooter to fire multiple rounds in quick succession. While this initial model was rudimentary compared to the shotguns of modern day, many of the key features of pump shotguns were created with this design. Roper and Spencer's shotgun operated using a pump, allowing a shooter to cycle the weapon without removing their firing hand. Compared to other shotgun types of the time, it was faster to fire multiple rounds on target and arguably simpler to use. In the next few years, Spencer, in collaboration with some other engineers, would continue to improve on the pump-action design. A number of Spencer's pump shotguns were sold, but not enough to sustain the company. Nevertheless, the pump-action shotgun design persisted. In the next few decades, a plethora of pump-action shotguns were produced, and were used in a variety of scenarios. From duck hunting to trench warfare, the pump shotgun proved to be a reliable and effective design. By the end of World War II, it was clear that the pump-action shotgun was here to stay. About 70 years later after its first iteration, the pump shotgun's reputation of being an effective firearm had been cemented. But there was one problem: cost. Many of the shotguns designed and produced in the earlier 20th century were complicated machines that were meticulously crafted by hand. While this could be viable for a small company making boutique firearms, this would not be financially viable for a company that intended to arm an exponentially increasing civilian populace. This was the problem that American firearms company Remington Arms faced after World War II. At this time, Remington had a pump shotgun in production, the Model 31. But while it was a great shotgun, it was also very expensive to produce. The path forward for Remington was clear. Their new firearm needed to be built using automated machinery, require less expertise to assemble, and most importantly, cost less. Thus, the idea for the Remington 870 was conceived. The Remington 870 was a firearm designed with cost in mind. But while lowering the cost of a product typically leads to a degradation in quality, this was not something Remington intended to happen. Their design team made some choices that saved costs without impacting quality. They based the 870's receiver on a previous shotgun design, meaning that less additional new machinery was needed to produce the receiver. Additionally, the usage of stamped steel further lowered costs, and parts interchangeability meant that the 870 could be assembled without need to meticulously fit parts together. What all this meant was that the Remington 870 was much less expensive to produce, without compromising reliability. So with that, the 870 went into production in 1950. At this point in time, Remington was already a household name. Many of their firearms were quite popular for hunting and other uses. What this meant was that there was a level of quality expected from Remington. Initial impressions of the 870 were mixed. Compared to the older and more expensive Model 31, there were some that thought the 870 was unrefined in comparison. In particular, the Model 31 was known to have a very smooth pump cycle, making it very easy to cycle the weapon. The 870, while adequate, is nowhere near as smooth. Additionally, the stamped steel, while perfectly functional, did not look or feel as nice as the more expensive milled steel on older shotguns. But it didn't take long for the majority of people to see what Remington was offering: an inexpensive and reliable pump shotgun that came in a number of different models, 15 to be exact. From the outset, there were a variety of different 870s to choose from, depending on the user's needs. It didn't take long for the 870 to catch on, and for even more variants to be produced. Whether it was deer hunting, trap shooting, or self-defense, there was a model for seemingly every use case. In 1966, Remington sold its 1 millionth 870, and to this day, the Remington 870 remains the most sold shotgun in the world. So, what made the Remington 870 so universally loved? The 870 is a pump shotgun. It's quite simple to use. Rack the pump to load a round, fire, then repeat. Due to the simple nature of the firearm, Remington 870s are generally quite reliable as well. Since the firearm cycles using a pump, the gun does not rely on any gas or recoil operation to load the next round, just human input. The relative low cost of the Remington 870 also made it very appealing. For beginners and experienced shooters alike, the shotgun was a low-cost option that seemingly always worked. These traits also caught the interest of military and law enforcement organizations. In the civilian world, shotguns are considered one of the most versatile firearms. In professional settings, that's the case as well. Their devastating effect on a target up close was certainly a factor in their adoption for offensive roles. But shotguns, and by extension, the 870, have many other uses beyond shooting people. Whether being used in the jungles of Vietnam, or being used to scare birds off an airfield, the 870 can do it all. The 870 has seen a significant amount of use in an offensive role. One of its most notable deployments was by US Navy SEALs during the Vietnam War. When intercepting boats being used to hide explosives, there was a possibility of accidentally detonating these explosives when firing larger caliber rounds. A shotgun loaded with buckshot was more than adequate for any would-be assailant on these boats, but would not inadvertently set off any of the explosives. Beyond its use in direct combat, one job the 870 is very commonly used for is door breaching. When there is a need to breach a door that is locked, a shotgun is the quickest way to get through. Compared to an explosive entry, a shotgun is much quicker. There's no need to get clear of the door and detonate the explosive. Using a shotgun is also safer than an explosive entry, though there's still a risk of hitting someone unintentionally. The Remington 870 is a great choice for a breaching shotgun. Typically, the breaching shotgun is placed at an angle pointed towards the lock or door hinge. Then, the shotgun is fired. Since the shotgun is in an awkward position, a pump shotgun is ideal to prevent another round from accidentally being fired. And with Remington making compact models of the 870 tailored for breaching, it's become a popular option for that task. In law enforcement, the Remington 870 is also a very popular option. Historically, the lethal capability of the 870 made it an attractive choice. but the unique circumstances of law enforcement gave rise to a much more important function of the shotgun. When handling suspects who pose a threat, but have not escalated to the point of being a deadly threat, less lethal beanbag rounds can be fired out of a shotgun to subdue the target. A semi-auto shotgun usually has trouble cycling these lower power shells. Since most semi-auto shotguns, whether gas or inertia, rely on the force of the fired round to cycle the next, a less lethal round does not provide enough force to cycle the shotgun. But with a pump shotgun like the Remington 870, the shotgun is cycled by using the pump. Since there's no reliance on the fired round to cycle the weapon, the 870 can utilize beanbag rounds with no issue. And no modification to the 870 is required to fire these rounds. Law enforcement agencies have used the 870 to deliver less lethal rounds to great effect. In this day and age of patrol rifles and handguns, some departments issue the 870 exclusively for the purpose of firing beanbag rounds, without bothering to mark the shotgun as a less lethal weapon. So, whether in the civilian world or otherwise, the Remington 870 has seen a lot of use. It's no surprise then that the shotgun has shown up in many games. As long as pump shotguns have appeared in games, so has the 870. In many games, it's the default shotgun. Typically, it's unremarkable in performance and somewhat limited in attachments. And in games, pump shotguns are harder to use compared to semi-auto options. Just like in the real world, the 870 isn't unique or special in games. Its most notable trait is its ubiquity. You'd be hard-pressed to find a modern shooter that doesn't feature the Remington 870. This is helped by the sheer amount of different 870 variants available. Want a hunting shotgun? 870. Something tactical? 870. If there's a job that requires a shotgun, there's probably an 870 made for it. In older games, shotguns in general were depicted as being very effective up close, but useless at distance. But as time has passed, more games depict shotguns with their realistic effectiveness at distance. And with some of these games allowing you to switch shell types, the versatility of shotguns in games has slowly caught up to their real-life counterparts. While these changes aren't of the 870 specifically, they certainly have been a significant factor for the shotgun's improved performance in games over the years. So, where does the Remington 870 sit today? While it remains the most popular shotgun in the world, Remington has had some hiccups over the years. In 2007, Remington was acquired by the private equity firm Cerberus Capital Management. While there has never been proof, it's believed by many that the quality of Remington firearms took a turn for the worse because of this acquisition. There are many samples of post-2007 Remington 870s that have rusted out of the box, among other problems. The common advice with 870s is that if you want one, buy one made before 2007. But none of this has affected its popularity in media. Whether in the hands of the latest post-apocalyptic hero, or being used by an elite team, the 870 remains the choice for a pump shotgun in games.